and the first, maybe even first few customers, if I understand correctly, it was more about flipping the switch of paid to get them, or it was more of a friend of a friend that you managed to land this contract, etc. So how did you get the first?
Yeah, so I have like this no intro policy. And I think that the most interesting part about like building a high scale company is really nailing the entire loop of having someone reach out to you, try the product, start engaging with it, start paying. And I think that if, for example, I would ask like investors to intro me to their portfolio companies, they would have to use the product. They're doing a favor. They might not need it. And I think that the entire concept is very, very different. So that's why I decided that I have like this no intro policy. All the customers that we have are users that got to us from like Facebook ads, social posts, also as scalable marketing channels. And that's something that I do find very important. I think that you can use intro for like customer surveys, just to speak with them, to understand the problems, but I think that if you're looking with like the glasses of customers that you reached out to with intros, that's like an entirely different picture, and it can be for both sides. It can be like they can be your best users because you had more time for engagement and to teach them, and they can be your worst users because they weren't really looking for this solution or they're not the right target audience. I would say that it's more like this approach. I think it's more relevant for a company like Oribi that is very high scale. If you need like 10 customers and you're also you're only like enterprise focused, so I think that's a different story.
If I understand correctly, then there shouldn't be any difference then on how you're getting like the next batch of customers then versus the first batch of customers, because it's all still the same. It's your marketing machine, getting the inbound leads, etc. You're not treating it differently now than you did before.
Yeah, I think that there's this like famous article of like do things that don't scale. I think it's correct for some things, but I think that with a company like us, it's like Oribi, it's very important for me to build a marketing machine, because I feel that's like a core part of the company. If I'll be able to get to the first like 100 customers in one way, but it's not scalable, I don't think that I really managed to take the company to the next level. So if with my previous company, it was more about like the initial customers derived from like guerrilla marketing and working with like Reddit and Hacker News and this kind of stuff and getting the early adopters. So over here, it took a very different approach. And for me, it was more about building something that can scale, and for the first customer to behave like the 1,000 customer.
Your marketing is mostly based on Facebook ads. Is that correct?
It was very important for me to base the marketing on a few channels. I think like one thing that I try to avoid is the heart attack fear of entrepreneurs, that if something specific won't work right with your company, the entire thing is going to, I don't think it's crash, but it's going to go to some kind of a freeze for a few months. So even though Facebook and Instagram work best for us, we decided to expand and to work more with YouTube and Google and some influencers, and to really build like a few legs that we can build this like table of marketing on top of. And that's also like for me something that I feel that it's a very important lesson. I don't want to be dependent on one channel. I know that like if Facebook will change the algorithm, something will stop working, so on. I can't take the risk of freezing the marketing for a few months.